All right. So here I am with my dear friend Stan McGee from Tennessee,
No, I'm from Alabama.
Alabama.
I'm
But you
three miles from Tennessee,
3 miles from Tennessee.
3 miles from Georgia.
See, 3 miles from Georgia. So Stan and I have been friends for I think 10 years.
Eight. I was
Eight,
just thinking about it. Oh,
eight.
well, no, wait a minute. No, it was the beginning of 2016.
It wasn't 2015. I thought it was
It
just
might have been. It
that.
might have been. It
Anyway,
might have been.
somewhere in there,
Anyway, okay, right. Yeah.
somewhere in there.
A
And
while. Yeah.
yes, a while. But Stan and I have only met once for
Hmm.
lunch. Other than that, our relationship has all been digital. Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
Text, YouTube videos,
Hmm.
telephone calls.
Yeah. I mean, it's really kind of beautiful the connection we have with each other, considering like we have met for 60 minutes.
Yeah, and but it's funny that I first saw your photo,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there was something I have like we talked about it. I have never done that before or since.
Oh, yeah.
You told me you didn't do it before.
No, this has been a
Yeah,
very unique.
but when I saw you, it was like a recognition,
Uh-huh.
past life, whatever. There was a recognition.
Well, and every time we connect, it's like that. It's like
Yeah,
this is ancient bond,
that's right. That's right. Yeah.
and it's so warm and beautiful, and
Hmm.
just it's
Hmm.
incredible. Honestly, it's incredible.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I'm so glad that
Yeah.
you're part of my journey.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so I have 3 questions for you. Is there anything you want to share before you start about yourself, or just why you chose anything?
Give me an idea of what you would like to know in this.
Well, I think the questions will tell us a bit about you. Maybe just
Yeah, let's launch into the questions and I'll fill in how I got, you know,
yeah. Here we
to
go.
the answers.
Okay. Question number one. What did I learn way too late?
Oh my goodness, Sadie. I've been married twice. Both of my both of my partners are deceased now. The first one left me after about 2 years, and I was a single parent for a couple of years with our child. And then uh, about we separated in early '74, and I met and married Deb in late '76, and we were married almost 40 years.
Hmm.
And so my dating experience was limited because of my church involvement, in a way, I'd say. And also, I played in a band, which the band plays when people are on dates. See, so I got married, and what I understood about male and female relationships was limited uh, uh, to being married, really.
Hmm.
And so after Deb passed, I met a lady that I've known now for 7 years, and it was a depth charge, both nightmare and spiritually enlightening experience. And I really didn't know what hit me until about 6 years into it. And uh, she finally found another partner, and I was devastated. And so one night, I don't know what I was watching on YouTube, but a thing came up that said 7 signs of a narcissist. You know, I to me, narcissist. I don't think it's a DSM-5 diagnosis. Maybe it is, but I think it's more of a social. It's used socially. You know, like oh, she's a narcissist, or you're a narcissist. You know, and that's the way I'd heard it before. But these 7 signs, bing, 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 as Donald says, bing, 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 and and uh, and it nailed it, and I was in shock. And so after watching those, this is something that I learned very late in life. It was a nightmare, but I grew more spiritually during that time, more more fortified and protected and able to learn boundaries. I would say it was learning boundaries, learning healthy boundaries. I learned way late. I'll be 75 in September, September 5. And
Mhm.
this was a hard time to learn it, but it was really perfect, you know.
Okay, so I want to ask you for my own
Okay.
um,
Hmm.
learning. If you were to describe a healthy boundary,
Hmm.
what would it, and it doesn't need to be specific, like, but what are the sort of what is a healthy boundary for you?
I guess I'd have to uh, reverse engineer uh, narcissism, and that would be a uh, a willingness to uh, make known true availability or not. Then an intimacy of trust would need to be built, and in other words, those are maybe more like red flags or boundaries. And then it needs to be reciprocal in some pleasant way. If it's not reciprocal, there it's damaging, probably damaging to both, and those kind of things. You
Mhm.
know,
Well,
if you want to go deeper, I will just get more specific, and
well,
that's
is
kind
there
of a basis, to me.
a basis? Well, I would, is there anything more you feel inclined to share? Anything that,
There's got to be a certain honesty, um, an openness, a vulnerability, you know, on both sides, and trust built over time. But also, it's not just a romantic boundaries, but also in friendships and in business and other kind of cooperative things. Um, if there is not consideration on both sides, and some sort of, not tit for tat equal sharing, but just kind of a sort of feeling that there is a reciprocal agreement, a functioning actual reciprocity, or I have to set a boundary with my time and my attention.
mm,
You know.
that's okay. So that was going to be my question. When you're finding that reciprocity and consideration is not
Hmm.
there, then
Hmm.
what is the boundary that you set for yourself?
Uh, I have learned. I've gained the ability to say no for my own mental, physical, emotional, spiritual well-being. You know, I can feel when it's taxing me beyond the energy. I used to waste a lot of my energy, by giving it away, you know, and I've reached a point in my life where I don't have that much emotional energy. I have friends that I cannot be responsible for their emotional well-being.
Mm.
It's too expensive.
And what about family? What about family that I know, some of the people in your family that you kind of had a great deal of angst with that they're gone, but
Mhm.
now what kind of boundary would you set with family where you don't feel like that consideration and reciprocity is there?
Oh boy. Um, I don't see my family very often. My mother's side, I only see at Thanksgiving or a funeral. But uh, on my dad's side, I have a half sister. I had a stepmother and two sisters, and the youngest sister, I was the black sheep in that family, and now she was the black sheep, and we really buddy up. Otherwise, um, I just see my family once a year, so they don't have that kind of. They're not in a position to do that. I find that more in my friends and business project. Sometimes even in medicine work.
Hmm.
So.
Yeah, medicine work. That'll show you just about
Is that a
anything.
fourth question?
That'll show, that'll show you anything you need to see.
Oh me.
And that is, I'm going to move to the next question because that may come up now. What am I learning now?
Mm, I'm learning how to find peace.
Mm,
Uh, Peace, no matter the circumstances. I really, for a long time, I was really attracted to Zen.
mm,
The Buddhism and Taoism of it. Like Buddhism was coming up from the south, and Taoism was coming down from the north, and a lot of those boys were uh, the children of a political regime change. And so they said, we will let you live if you'll enter a monastery and, and get out of leadership and politics. So a lot of these guys were there not for their spiritual advancement, and they learned martial arts. And there was a time when the Taoist students and the Buddhist students tried to kill off the other masters, before it finally settled and they had a baby, and that was then, you know, which brought Buddhism out of the monastery into the marketplace, kind of. And so I'd read those things, had the little Zen sayings calendars, and the uh, little apples of gold of Zen masters and stuff like that. But I knew something was there, and I really tried to get a grip on it, but I couldn't until Thomas Merton
mm,
pulled me closer. And then when a friend gave me a cassette copy of The Power of Now,
mm,
it's my old high school buddy. He was the lead singer in the band, in our high school band. And he had gone through a real terrible time, and a mutual friend had given him The Power of Now on cassette. And after Deb passed, he he gave me that, and I knew right away I had to. I got the book. I bought the used CDs. I digitized them. I have them on my phone on rotation, on my shuffle. It might be Jimi Hendrix or a medicine song from Peru, or chapter 13 from Power of Now. So that really helped me connect with what you would call presence, uh, with a capital P, you
mhm,
know, that's found through silence with a capital S, and peace with a capital P.
mm,
And so applying those principles, and the I Ching was a really big help. It was a real source of wisdom and guidance, things like that. There are other tools, but uh, that, and I'm learning and I'm practicing. I'm getting to practice uh, through patience with suffering, with patience with people problems, and long suffering with circumstances. I'm walking the journey. Does that help answer it?
yeah. So if I were to summarize that, so it sounds like you're learning presence and
Yeah.
patience and peace,
Yes. Yeah.
specifically as it relates to people
Yeah. And circumstances,
and circumstances.
but I don't see how I lived. I don't see how I lost so much of my inner energy
Mm.
by not learning that earlier. You know, but I raised four kids, so I mean, I was busy.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Um, it's interesting because it seems like what you're learning now is very helpful to having healthy boundaries,
Oh
right?
yeah,
You're
absolutely.
and patient.
Right,
Yeah.
right. See that finding peace um, uh, protects you from different kinds of manipulation, emotional manipulation. You know, when you feel that pull of a wrench towards something that you're not comfortable with, you know,
Yeah.
you can come back to peace and you don't have to respond to that. You don't have to react to it, you know. You don't
I,
have to do what it's supposed to be doing to you.
I I have to say, recently in my life, and I've had pretty healthy boundaries. I mean, I think I'm a person that has pretty healthy
I think you
boundaries.
started learning them much younger than I did.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had to. I had to.
yeah, absolutely.
But I'm being
I think
shown,
if I were female, I would have had to have learned a whole different skill
yeah,
set,
yeah, we
you know,
do.
from
Yeah,
that.
as a woman or a
Yeah,
female, you do need, yeah,
yeah,
that added. But it's interesting because the peace part that you're talking about has been powerful for me because I've noticed when I'm sort of peacefully going along and then somebody will come in and interject something in my life and it just feels terrible. And I think I don't actually want to respond to them, or I don't like the way I feel like I need to respond to them. That's probably the
mm-hmm,
biggest thing.
mm-hmm.
And I've begun to not sort of allow when I feel jerked to respond to something, I kind of take it as that might not be healthy.
That's the same thing I'm talking about. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like I've
It.
lost. Yeah.
I have. I. You know, you would say I have lost friends over recovering from this, but when I look at it, they're really not friends that I uh, are really the kind of friends I can really trust on a deep level. And I have good friends. I have really good friends that I can communicate with, but they're not many. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw an interesting little, I don't even know what it was, but the person was just saying that oftentimes when you get deeper and deeper into your own personal work, there's a natural withdrawal from our society
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because our
Yeah.
society isn't able to connect to and support isn't just able it just isn't really at a place where that deeper connection happens.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And I have learned that I live in the woods. I live with my daughter. You know, and she has some health problems, but and after Deb passed, we would go 4 or 5 days in the house and wouldn't even see each other because I was living on one shift and she was living on the other, and we could hear each other. We knew that there was life, but now we're after some years, both of us had a thing, to recover from, but I learned to spend long periods of silence. I had to find that peace. I can get in there quicker now. I can move into that place quicker now. But it was really, I had to spend a lot of time alone. I don't regret it. I really wasn't lonely. I connected a lot with my land that I live on. The plants, the trees. I learned more about medicinal plants during that time. I learned how to listen to plants, you know, to hear them or sense them. Uh, and Anyway, that involves Native American pipe ceremony. So, but things like that I had to learn alone, you know, or practice alone.
yeah. Well, thank you. All right. Anything else you want to say that about what you're learning now before I ask you your final question?
Uh, Yeah, I guess I'm learning how to listen to people better, you know, and maybe that's just my maturity, and lack of maturity, when I was younger. But I've learned to pay attention more, um, to the heart messages and what is really going on. You know, like they say that the worst thing about communication is assuming that it has happened. you know, okay, you know, so so that's putting in practice things that I've learned by silence. And I yammer a lot, especially if I drink any caffeine. It's like truth serum. So,
Oh, I should have had you drink a cup of coffee
well,
before.
I got one of these old Zevia.
Is
I
that
don't know.
good?
That's backwards. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's natural. It's not. It's not. It's not that caffeine that's made in a dirty little factory in a dirty little town in China that's in monsters and everything. That they.
Mhm.
It's a white powder. That they add into most. And this is from plant materials. So.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was actually asking my kids the other day, like, what kind of caffeine do they use in those, like, really hardcore monster drinks or whatever? We
Mm,
didn't know.
yeah,
So, anyway, but
most of it's made just a white powder.
yeah,
I know.
the things we put in.
Excedrin, Excedrin, extra strength Tylenol. That
Yeah.
caffeine in there is powder made in a dirty little factory in a dirty little industrial town in China.
I mean, I have to say our bodies are doing pretty amazing considering
Really, really.
how far we've come from,
Yeah,
eating
yeah, yeah,
healthy foods
yeah,
grown in healthy soils
yeah,
with healthy
yeah.
water, healthy
Right.
air, the
Yeah,
whole thing.
yeah. If we're not
But
mindful, we'll be eating a lot of chemicals and things that we weren't designed to ingest.
yeah,
Anyway,
so, so
that's another subject, maybe.
yeah, that is. We could talk a lot about that one. Okay, your final question.
Uh oh.
This is the big one.
This is like, I know this is like I'm going to win or lose here.
Yes, this is. This is the fun one. Okay. When I pass onward, what do I hope is my final thought?
I've told my friends that on my tombstone, if there is one, I want it to say peace at last.
Well, maybe I should ask you, you believe that once you die, you're just at peace?
Oh, me. Yeah. Anyway, my final thoughts. I'm returning to grandmother
Mhm.
where my body came from. I mean, I'm at peace with it. You know, I'm not afraid of death. I can't be afraid of death. That's a codependency. Maybe that's not the right term, but I can't live free and be afraid of death. That's another boundary and a manipulation. I can't let death manipulate me or fear of death. Indigenous people, they live with death every day. They have songs about it. It's not a it's not a taboo subject at all. It's very much part of their being. You know, in the United States, we don't see dead bodies. We maybe see them at a funeral, but we don't see unless we witness a tragedy. We don't see dead bodies. So you go to India and they're up and down the street, up and down the riverside. You know, other countries, death is all around them. Indigenous societies, that live between fang and claw. Native Americans. this is a good day to die. I mean, they weren't afraid of death, and it gave them, I think, a certain freedom to live. Did that answer a question? I'm not sure how I got there.
Yeah, no, it's good. I think just thinking about death in general, it's interesting because I would say there was a time in my life where I was afraid of death, and then I became very afraid of life. I was more afraid of
Yeah, that's the worst thing. That's the worst thing is to be afraid of life.
yeah,
Yeah,
maybe
sweetie.
afraid
Yeah,
of losing the
yeah,
dying. And now I would
yeah,
say I probably yeah, kind of go back and forth. Like,
yeah,
yeah, I think I'm still negotiating with both
yeah,
living and
yeah,
dying.
yeah. Well, let me tell an experience. Um, I was taking a sailboat that I had built mostly. I didn't build the hull, but I made the mast, the sails, the lee boards, and the rudder. And I was determined to take it out and try it out. And it was February on the Tennessee River in Nickajack Lake. I live right above Nickajack Cave and Nickajack Lake, and that's a Cherokee name. And so uh, the wind, something happened, and I had to stand up on the next to the mast and adjust something. And I had put a knot in my main sheet. That's the rope that goes to the bottom of your sail and the boom and controls your sail. And it had come to the end of the knot in a full sail position. And the wind blew me out of my boat. And it was heading straight for Nickajack Dam. Full speed, total downwind, full sail. And I always thought that I did not have a strong will to live, you know. But I want to tell you, I was fighting for my life. I was wet. I was in blue jeans and tennis shoes, and I managed to grab the the transom of the boat as it was going by me, and I had to slide and slither my way up the rudder to get in the boat. At that moment, it was the hardest thing in my life. But now I fasten a little. I fixed that so it can't happen again, and I built a mizzen mast with a little back sail that'll pull me around into the wind if that happens. So anyway, and I also hang a loop over the back of the boat, so if I do fall in, I can just flip that out, put my foot in the loop, and get back on it. But the point is that uh, I still don't think of myself as having, fear of death, but I did find out that I had a terrific will to fight circumstances and survive. That was,
I love that. I don't think we, I know I have not understood. And I think if you haven't had one of those experiences, you may not understand how great the will is to live
yeah,
beyond
yes,
on you. Like, so I had
yeah,
an experience where I went into anaphylactic shock and I was like down
yeah,
on all fours, just struggling to breathe.
yeah,
And I thought
yeah,
something in me is literally fighting to the death to live. Like it felt like it was what was fighting to live was greater than me.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, absolutely. Now, think about this. There may be some people who have lived on Earth who could do this, but we can't will by our free will or by our willpower stop breathing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if we were able to hold our breath long enough to pass out, immediately we would start breathing again.
Hmm.
So there is that thing in us that's bigger than at least what we think we are.
It's greater than our
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Which I it's funny because I'm writing some stuff right now in a book, and I've been sort of playing around with the idea of how much free will do I have in this
Yeah,
realm where there's obviously a will that's greater,
yeah,
that
yeah,
I
yeah,
or so who knows?
yeah.
But,
That's I have friends who insist that there is no free will,
mhm.
and so their solution is they can blame God.
Um,
That's what's happening. They don't, in that way, they don't have to take responsibility for their own decisions. See,
that's really
because they
interesting.
don't really believe we have free will. So even though they may not have any concept of God, just that there is something, they can blame God for it. I have friends that do that.
I mean, and I would say I don't honestly know how much free will we have.
Right.
I don't totally, but
It's a it's a
I don't.
philosophical question, but when you fall out of your boat, you know,
Yeah, no,
or when you try to stop breathing, it has there's some little tests.
there's some powerful forces at work that I can't explain. I'll leave,
Yes.
leave it at that.
Yeah.
So, any so now any last thoughts about the questions? Anything else you'd like adding?
Read them one more time.
What did I learn way too late?
And I think we covered that pretty well. Yeah.
Okay. What am I learning now?
Yeah.
And when I pass, what do I hope is my final thought?
Yeah. I just want my final thought to be peaceful. And one thing I'm learning uh, is how to be of value to other friends who are musicians. My gift is to help other people sound good. I sing harmony. I play
Oh,
I play guitar, harmonica, bass, other instruments, um,
mhm.
and um, and I'm learning how that I can encourage people to be their best, and I know how to accompany where I don't cover them up, and just learning how to do that. I learned by listening to Beatle albums, and I'm
Oh,
almost learning to be a live mixer or engineer, and I really enjoy doing that. Here's my, let's see, I don't know if it'll show up, but there's my,
it's a beautiful quilt. There's a guitar.
there's five of them.
I can't, I could just only make out one. It's a little dark.
Yeah, yeah, it's dark over there.
That's,
So, so anyway,
well, that's interesting. So I know that you play all these instruments and you do a
hmm
lot of work
hmm
with musicians, but I've
hmm
never heard you say um, quite so beautifully sort of this supporting, accompanying role that you serve in the community for musicians. That's
hmm
really beautiful.
I have a friend that's working on a site. There are three different. I play harmonica with a friend who sings, and uh, and another friend, a boy who's well, a boy, he's 40, he's 44, he has five boys, and he started playing guitar when he was 12 or 13, and we played together. I taught him some, and over the years he would hear me playing in different places, and we would play, at family campouts and places where we ended up. And now he's got about 40 amazing original songs, and I'm his bass player. I've never played bass before, but I've had basses, and now I'm playing regularly with him. And then I do my own solo work, and and then I also play music and ceremony, charango, guitar, sing Quechua, Spanish, and some English songs, a few.
I love it.
So
I love
that's
it.
what I'm learning now. I don't quit.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful too. I don't quit. Like it's never, who would have thought, I know, when your wife died, who would have thought that how much you've grown and, and all that you've learned and become in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
last year.
And that's both a result of a very difficult time, very extremely difficult time, and also a time of rapid spiritual growth that I don't think I could have gone through without suffering. Really, I mean, it's hard to get a hold of the idea of something like the sun dance, where they're pierced,
Mhm.
and they dance 4 days without food and water, and that kind of thing, a willingness to suffer for the well-being of the tribe, to go on a vision quest 4 days without food and water with a blanket, you know. Um, that's really hard for the Western mind to get a grip on. But I really do learn. I think suffering is a spiritual vitamin if you pick it up the right way. It can make you bitter and dark, you know, or you can really grow spiritually, if you're leaning in the right direction.
It's interesting because I was writing the other day that suffering is not sorrow, but I
No,
think you can, for me, I think when I can turn my suffering into sorrow, then sorrow leads me to all these to many things that then help me
sure.
grow.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you ever see that movie? I'm sorry. Did you ever see that movie Never Cry Wolf?
Mm-mm.
It's a true story of a Canadian, and the Canadian government sent him up alone way above the Arctic Circle to uh, study the wolves. And if he could prove that the wolves were decimating the elk herds, caribou herds, then they would open a hunting season on wolves. But what he found was from an old Inuit uh, medicine man that the wolves were given as a gift, as a tool to clean the herd. See, he proved that they only attack and kill animals that had bone diseases and were the diseased members of the herd. It was a cleaning device. He said, you know, spirit, the herds were ill, and spirit reached into this hole in the ground and brought out a tool for cleaning the herd. And so I look at suffering as being a tool for cleaning.
So next,
Why am I suffering? Is it something I can release?
hmm. Okay, so next time I'm suffering, I'm going to remember the wolf and be like, "All right, wolf, come on in.
Clean me. That's right. I need wolf
Take
wolf
whatever.
spirit. That's right.
You're gonna."
Eat this dead carrion. Eat this kill this sick animal.
I mean, it's honestly kind of a little bit helpful, and just knowing that that is nature's way. Yeah,
Yeah. Have we got have we got time for one more story?
yeah. Go ahead.
Have you ever heard of Stephen Gaskin in the hippie farm up in Tennessee?
Mm-mm.
Monday night class, caravan. He was a teacher at San Francisco State University. I think that's over in Oakland. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But he had a Monday night class where he was like a spiritual teacher, sort of like Tole, Ram Dass. And and so a group of them decided they need to get it out of the city. And so this was very early 70s. And they piled in a bunch of buses painted up like Ken Kesey's Merry Pranksters. And they took off around the country until they found Summertown, Tennessee, and they bought 2,000 acres. And 2,000 hippies lived on 2,000 acres. And I used to go up there some. And I would take my son Josh when he was a little kid, and we go up there for a while. But I got a lot of stories about Stephen Gaskin, but they were farmers, big time farmers, hippie farmers, and this one field, it must have been about 40 acres. It might have been only 20, but it was huge, between 20 and 40 acres, all planted in sweet potato slips. And I looked, and all the little sweet potato slips had a dirt clod on top.
Mhm.
And I asked, why do all the sweet potato slips have a dirt clod? And he said they learned it from the old farmers, the old Tennessee farmers. And that is that if you just set them out, they'll pop up and their stem will be real skinny. And when the rains come, it'll glue them down into the mud. But
Uh,
if you put the dirt clod on the sweet potato, by the time it pulls out, it's got a real nice, healthy stem. And no matter how hard it rains, it won't get glued to the mud. And so that has been my lesson, that difficulties are dirt clods on my sweet potato slip. And uh, I told this to a friend once, and they said, I told them, I said, "You're my the dirt clod on my sweet potato slip." And she said, "The neti pot up your nostril." And I said, "Absolutely. I feel a song coming on." I said, I said, I said, "Yeah, you're the grit in my oyster." And so, so it has a lot of little useful, you know,
yeah.
analogies. Okay,
So
that's
I
it.
want,
I'm through.
I want, I want you to come back, write that song,
Yeah,
"Grit in My Oyster" or "Clawed,
yeah,
clawed on Sweet Potato,"
yeah.
"Nitty Up My Nostrils." I want you to write that and then come back and sing it for us.
uh,
Oh, that's too fun. Um, okay, so I do ask one final question that
oh,
I oh, I know. So this one is there a question that you think would be interesting to ask people?
I think what we've talked about. I'm always interested in how what the process uh, someone went through when uh, dealing with a tragedy or a loss. That's one thing I really want to know how they did that. It's not a question that you can ask unless you have a certain level of you know uh, relationship. I want to say intimacy, but it sounds like you're going too far. But you have to have a level of trust before. So I was a social worker for 13 years. I worked in children's services, and people, coworkers, and family members would tell my boss, I've told him things I've never told anyone.
Hmm.
When I think about that now, I feel like that part of my gift as a human being is I can put people at ease. You know, it has also opened me up to manipulation because I have to trust, a certain way before I can be trusted. You know, I feel like it's natural. It's not something I had to work at.
Yeah, yeah. Um, I always felt, yeah, from the beginning. I don't know if it was maybe it's just your special gift or maybe it's, our connection, but I always had that with you.
Yeah.
So I want to read something you said. I just pulled up this quote on my phone and I actually looked at it earlier today and I haven't, okay, I can tell you it's from October 25th, 2023. So it's a good, it's a hot minute old.
Oh boy. Yeah. That
Um,
was when I began. That's when my crisis. Well, no, just chapter 3 of my crisis. Yeah. Yeah.
and I got this. it's not a perfect quote from someone, but it's definitely based on someone, but I don't
Mhm,
remember who it was.
mhm,
And the reason I want to read it is because you said, I would like to know, about people's kind of process as they go through loss
mhm,
or trauma,
mhm,
whatever's
mhm.
going on. And I,
Tragedy. Yeah.
yeah, tragedy. And I have been so curious about that as well. And I kind of have been, I would say for the last year, been asking myself, like, when will it end? Like, when will this end? Like, when am I
Yeah.
done? And then I came
Yeah.
across this, and I
Yeah.
read something and then I wrote this, but it's
That's a
tied to,
dangerous question to ask, really.
I know. So listen to this.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
It says, we often believe in the fantasy of healing, the one where the wounds and scars are gone, where we are as we were before the affliction. But the wholeness of healing requires the wound to be a source, a generative source, one which is the origin of that which can only, oh, one which is the origin of that which only we can bring into this world. So
Yeah.
I've tried to quit asking myself, like, when am I done? When is it over?
Mhm,
And just trying to live in a place where my trauma and loss or tragedy
mhm,
is generating
mhm, mhm,
what I am here to bring into the
mhm.
world.
Yeah, my the last I've been to the Amazon 3 times on the 10-day hiatus, and the last time I went, I go with a journal, not blank, but a lot of blank left sometimes, and the title on the cover of the journal on my last trip down there, with my last journey, was letting go.
Mm.
And letting go is a skill that's absolutely necessary for finding peace. And so letting go of what we wished had happened, letting go of who to blame, letting go of uh, letting go of my need to suffer over it. You know, so much letting go. There that letting go is almost the way to peace. For me, uh, letting go is necessary for boundaries in that to bring you to a point where uh, you're uh, uh, you're you're more free of manipulations. In other words, letting go of something maybe that you thought you needed and is being artificially supplied in a manipulative way. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
in other words, in other words, I can't spend a lot of energy wanting what I don't have because that keeps me from all the enjoyment of what I do have. I have to let go of the 10,000 things that cross my mind that I might think I need or think I want. And that's a letting go of suffering, letting go of those things, identifying those things and letting them go.
It's interesting. I was listening to a podcast, and I don't remember the gentleman's name, the guest. He was like a cosmic physicist, this
Mm,
very bright man. And he was talking about letting go. And he said, as this cosmic scientist, I mean, he's trying to delve into all these, great universal mysteries and beyond the universe.
mm,
He's actually delving beyond time and space. They've now found, I did not know this, they've now found these geometric shapes outside of time and space that are literally mapping and creating time and space and
yeah.
disappearing.
Whoa.
Like it's very, I was like,
How
What?
do you map something that can't be mapped? You know what I mean? You know?
Well, time and space can be mapped, but to think about
Yeah,
this,
time and space can be mapped.
this,
Right.
I
Right.
can't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, so he
I
said,
think Tolle called it the unmanifested.
yeah, well, now it has a form. I mean, it's unmanifested, but it has this geometrical form. Anyway, so
Okay.
he was talking about the importance of letting go. And he
Mhm.
was saying, oh, I absolutely have to spend time in silence and letting go of everything I know.
Mhm. Mhm.
Otherwise, I'll never see the next horizon,
Mhm.
you know?
Mhm.
So I just want to offer that the letting go is just crucial to, I think,
Mhm. Mhm.
life.
Mhm. Mhm.
You know, life is constantly letting go of the present
Yeah.
moment.
Yes. Yeah. 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 And and I think for me to enjoy the present moment, I have to do that. I have to let go of the last moment.
Hmm.
You know, there's pleasures. You know,
Hmm.
old pleasures. There's old hurts. Uh, and as far as learning or growing from them, they're going to pop into our minds, and we'll have to deal with them. You know,
Hmm.
they're also really valuable moments, cherished moments, and everything. But But to really be in the present, I have to let go of that. Joys and sorrows, I think is the way Krishnamurti put it. You got to let go of joys and sorrows so that you can live in the moment.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're both striving for the same
Yeah, yeah,
presence in our lives. Presence
yeah,
and peace.
yeah,
Presence and peace.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Tolle tells a story about Krishnamurti who had been coming to the States for on journeys, teaching journeys for about 30 years. He was in San Francisco and he's lecturing along, talking along, and he stops and he says, "You want to know my secret?" And of course, everybody holds their breath. And he
Hmm.
said, "I don't mind what happens."
Yeah, preferences, like preferences are, preferences, expectations, fillers. I definitely have my preferences. So I
And
have to
so,
say, I found Krishnamurti through, you would have thought I would have found him through my meditation or my yoga or all that, but I didn't. I found him through David Bohm, Bohm.
oh, yeah,
He's another physicist. I can't
uh-huh,
remember quite what his title was, but he was fascinating. And I found David Bohm because I was doing a lot of work with dialogue. And David Bohm was huge. He wrote a whole book about it was a short book, but he wrote this great book about what a healthy dialogue looks like and why it's so crucial to our society. And
wow,
he wrote this in like 1950,
yeah,
and
wow, yeah,
he and Krishnamurti were like soulmate friends. And
okay,
if you look on YouTube, Krishnamurti and David Bohm, there are recordings of the two of them having these
very good,
incredible
yeah,
conversations where you have
uh,
this
yeah,
Indian guru and this,
yeah,
American physicist. I think he
yeah,
was a
yeah,
physicist. So having,
yeah,
they're like, yeah, we can totally talk because we're talking about
yeah,
the same thing.
yeah. I like that. I'll look for that. Yeah,
Yeah. So anyway, well, this has been an absolute delight.
good.
So
Yeah,
you are an absolute delight in my life. Thank you,
yeah.
James.
As you are to me. You
I
know.
love you. Yeah.
Yeah, I love you too, sweetie.
Are there any last words you want to offer? I mean, you've offered enough, but I just want to.
Uh, just I don't know. I think everything I've said is the greatest encouragement that I could give to somebody because it's what's worked for me. You know. And oh, one thing I've learned is there's so many different paths that people need to be on. I mean, everyone needs to find what works for them.
Yeah.
You know, and always hopefully it'll be in a healthy way. You know. There are unhealthful things that work for people, but you know, I want to encourage uh, all of us to be happy with not building more uh, karmic situations. In other words, let's be responsible to our karma right now, so we don't have to face these lessons over and over and over again.
I have to say, sometimes I'm not sure how to do that. So I'll give an
Right.
example.
Oh
Right
yeah.
now, I'm interviewing for jobs, and I have three that are quite possible, and they're all very different. And I think, what's the one that I could take that would like
Mm-hmm.
literally let me move toward the new horizon?
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but I would
Mm-hmm.
very much like to go there.
Yeah. 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 I think the first thing I would try is to uh, toss the I Ching.
Okay.
You
You're
know, I
very
did
you're very good at that. You've done that for me in the past. And yeah, maybe I'll have you
maybe
help.
maybe tarot too. You know, a friend of mine when I was in college, let's say it was about 70, maybe about 71, showed me how to sh- introduce me to the I Ching, and um, and uh, I learned to do it. I did it for a while, for about 3 years, and then I didn't do it for 40 years. I didn't do it until Deb's last year,
Mm.
and I found the old Wilhelm yellow and gray uh, authorized version of the I Ching way back, the old one, and uh, and for some reason, the older copies don't have this on them, but this copy, or maybe this older, on the dust jacket it says "Forward" by Carl Jung, and I go,
Oh,
"What?
forward.
I never noticed that before." So I read that. It's about 20 pages, 25 pages, and in that he talked about different things and brought up the idea of the tarot, and I had never really thought about it before. I know that my grandparents would not allow playing cards
Mhm.
in the house, and when I was little, I was thinking that maybe it's about gambling. You know, I grew up in the Bible Belt, so. But now I think it's associated with gypsies and little trailers who read palms and did card readings. You know what I mean?
Witchcraft.
Yeah, all that. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that Carl Jung used the I Ching a ton, a ton.
Yeah, yeah, he did a lot of things. He experimented with pendulum and was
Yeah.
familiar with runes but I Ching, he really saw archetypes for the
Mhm.
human experience, and that's what caught me. I said, yeah, you know, and it's like an I Ching in that when you do the thing, it tells you the moment,
Yes. Yeah. It tells you this. Yeah. It's not predicting the future. It's not
right?
right.
It can kind of explain how you got here and maybe
Mhm.
warn you a little bit about what to
What's,
watch out for, maybe,
what's
but it
going on?
only takes a snapshot of the now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Um,
that.
I'll have to if you're still into it. So I have been following this gentleman named Harmon Musker. He's from the Netherlands, and he has done such incredible work with the I Ching. He's
Mhm,
kind of like one of the foremost uh, leaders, I guess, right
mhm,
now,
mhm,
in that he's learned these ancient Chinese characters that are literally
mhm.
like old bones and turtle
Yeah,
shell, and
yeah,
he's gone through all the old texts to figure out what the oldest
yeah,
interpretation would, not
yeah.
interpretation, the oldest meaning. He's trying not to interpret them. He wants to try to find their literal meaning. Because obviously, if you think about whatever 3,000 years, how many interpretations have been laid on top of these?
Oh yeah,
And so, yeah, so he's going back. So
yeah,
I'll connect you with him.
yeah. You
Some of
get
the stuff.
every time things are translated, you get a different view
Mhm.
of how individual words can be translated.
It goes back to what you said, like, don't assume communication has happened.
Yeah, that's right. That's the biggest problem with communication is
Don't
assuming that it has happened.
communication.
Oh,
All
well,
right, my dear friend.
this has been fun. A
Yeah,
delight.
we could talk forever.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
Maybe we'll get to.
yes, that would be good. So love you lots and thank you so, so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your podcast. It's great to talk to you.
Yes.
I will talk to you later, sooner.